is Sababek from Education 3304. So today, my topic for today is process pedagogy, and I will be discussing about teaching writing as a process, not a product. First of all, I'm going to discuss what pedagogy is. Pedagogy basically is an art of teaching. So, as a teacher, how we can use different methods to make our learning productive for the students. Um, First, I'm gonna go with the diagram of process writing. So, we have to consider writing as a process, not a product. So, I have this diagram over here, um, which can tell you like different ways to follow for your process writing. So, in order to have good writing, we need to have drafting. We could have that would involve focusing. Then you can have evaluation over here, and then evaluation could be vice versa. It could be generating ideas, then evaluating. Generating ideas could be structure. You can have reviewing of your process writing. So hopefully this is clear to you guys. Um, in order to have, sorry, so to further discuss about the pedagogy, the process writing, I have a plan. So that's what we have to follow. So in order to have a process writing, we need to have a plan, then write, review our writing. If we need any addition, we can go over it. And then we have final process, that is sharing. So when we are planning for our process writing, what things we need, how we can plan the writing? We could have web, we can brainstorm the ideas, and we have to find the purpose of our writing and the audience that will be covering, that will be accessing our writing. Then, when we talk about writing, we have organization. How our writing, like we can work on the sentence structure, whether our sentences are complete or not, or the tenses are complete, what word choices we have chosen. Are we avoiding repetition? Maybe repetition is considered as one of the literary elements in English, but here repetition means are we repeating the same idea, like the same wordings over and over again? Are we using different vocabs? Because if you keep on reading the same word, it gets sometimes it gets boring. So we have to keep that in our mind as well. Um, yeah. Then we have to revise. Revise that maybe when we're revising, we can find errors in our writing which needs to be fixed, and maybe sometimes you get like more ideas, more examples, maybe real life examples, anything which we need to add in our writing even after we are done. And it's really common even for me. If I'm done my writing, I have to revise it and see, oh, I'm missing that, I need to add that to my writing. And then we have editing. So editing is basically correctness, and it's like different like stages of process writing. Editing is really important because none of us is like 100%. Sometimes we need to add it, the word choice. Sometimes we need to fix our punctuations or the errors or any grammatical mistakes, which we can figure it out by ourselves. And then once we know, maybe another process of writing is after editing, that is proofreading. Maybe we can share our document to our peers for proofreading as well, because sometimes you cannot find mistakes in your own writing no matter how many times you read it. You still need others help to find out the mistakes, or maybe you can get like better feedback from your peers. So that is also one of the process of uh, process writing. Yeah, that itself, the word process is like one of the processes. And then that's how we can find scholarly articles online. And yeah, because they are peer I think peers read them like uh, uh, there's a term, sorry, it's not coming in my head right now, but um, sorry, I'm missing that. So proofreading is required, peer reading is required to find if you have any errors before your final publication of your writing piece. So our big question here is how to apply process writing in classrooms. As a teacher, how can we take this terminology to our practical classrooms? That's our main thing, main target we need to consider, right? And so this process of writing, we can either use it in elementary classroom or university level classroom. Like when we're applying this process, we have to go through different stages. So basically, there are different stages of writing. Process writing is not just achieved in one single attempt, it's not a product writing. So that's how we can differentiate between process writing and a product writing. Right, sorry, writing as a product versus writing as a process. So when we talk about writing as a product, it means it is more teacher centered. We just focus on the product. We focus classroom activities are basically the activities involved in writing in the writing as a product is like um, editing your own work, submit the paper as a final product. So it's like more individual effort. So maybe your teacher gives you a topic, you just write it down and submit it, right? Like the way you basically usually do during your exams. You're given a topic and you have to write an essay. So you're just whatever the first thought comes in your mind after reading the topic, you just write a whole this like a story on that, like maybe 500 words. If you're in university level, like maybe you're given a topic and like all of a sudden you're asked, okay, write a 750 words of essay. And that is basically, we use writing over there as a product. So we just want to get it done. We, especially during exams, I will consider the essay writing during exam is like uh, writing as a product. We are just getting it done. We are not proofreading it because we're rushing to get everything done. And this is basically, that's how it is different than writing as a process. But when we're in a classroom, like if I take myself as a student, and if I'm given a topic in the classroom and I'm given like plenty of time. So maybe I'm discussing the, if you're given the topics, if you're in the group, so that's what we do in the universities as well, like brainstorming the topic. What could be the, maybe if the topic is related to maybe something science or anything, so we will be talking about the pros and the cons of that. Maybe if it's not of the pros and the cons, but like different elements are involved, like how can we make this paper maybe informative, maybe like something that is useful for the readers or easy for the readers to understand. So for so the writing as a process is like more student centered. So students are basically more involved in their own learning as compared to writing as a product. Um, it's like you get time to think, right? It's like it's more socially dynamic. You students, since it's a student centered approach, so students are active participants in this process of learning. um, So, what is a process writing basically? So, if I'm gonna tell, maybe um, in a classroom, teacher might break the three stages. So as I told before, like since there are the stages of the process writing. As an elementary teacher, for instance, if like we all are since becoming teachers, so we should know how to break the three stages into like more stages of like writing. So the first stage of process writing would be our pre-writing. So pre-writing, basically, it's a, what is the purpose of the writing? So students get chance to brainstorm. They can questions their peers, like what could what could they write about the topic? What what does this topic involve? Who can be a part of this story maybe? And like they get a platform of like to for discussion. Um, so maybe they can be, as a teacher, maybe we can provide them posters, right? If we're in elementary, maybe we do that in our university levels as well. I have done that process writing in my other courses, in my other advanced genet courses, where we were given maybe sticky notes to just, we were thrown a top, like we were given a topic and we just have to write a sentence, like what's the first thought that comes in our mind. Or maybe we can do the same thing with elementary students, like if we, as a teacher, if we give them a topic, maybe we can hand over them a poster, maybe sticky notes, or maybe just ask them to draw a map. What words come out by looking at the topic? So maybe you can brainstorm who would be your audience if you're writing a paper for your peers or for your teachers. So what message do you want to give to them, to your readers? What do you want them to understand, like how you can deliver your thoughts like clearly to the reader's mind. So that is basically pre-writing, where pre-writing is not just having like full complete sentences, but like the main ideas. Okay, I'll be talking about this in my writing. Okay, I need to cover this topic, particular topic in my writing. So maybe in elementary levels, maybe students can very lower, like div 1 students, if they can use pictures, right? So we can modify this process writing in different ways to make it easy for every age groups. So that's the first stage. So there are basically three stages of process writing. So the first one I already discussed, that's pre-writing. That's like brainstorming, web, and everything. Then the second stage is writing, when you're actually start writing. Okay, now I have the topics, I have the elements, maybe I have the thoughts which I can just combine, and then I can start my writing. So students write by making connections. The ideas during pre-writing, whatever they gathered, whatever they collected during pre-writing. Now the second stage involves like how they can connect all those ideas to create a full piece of writing. That is a second stage. And then there is a third stage. The third stage is basically it's not rewriting, but it's revising and self-editing. So maybe they can go over their work and see what mistakes, maybe do my sentence make sense? So are my sentences logical? So that's what they have to assess. This is basically self-assessment. So about what they have written. That's, they can proofread, then they go, and I would personally suggest us, like when like students are proofreading, or when they are self-editing their writing, they should read it aloud and see, does it make sense? Because sometimes when we are writing in flow, right, whatever comes in our mind, we just write it down. Um, as a as a pre-service teacher and as a tutor as well, I have always told my student, when you're writing, do make sure you read it aloud and see, does that make sense? Or am I missing anything? Am I missing any element? Maybe maybe they have to, because when I was teaching grade five, I guess, they were doing, one of my student, he was, I mean, my mentor teacher, told us like, Saba, if you can check the students' writing, did did the student use the imagery in his or her writing? And I was like really impressed. Like, although that child was only in grade five, but the way his teacher, like the teacher, were encouraging and motivating them to have the imagery in their writing, means they're basically developing those process writing skills already in grade five, because they have to use, like as a teacher, I have to check whether they're using their, like, imagery, means like they're using five senses in the writing. And I'm like very impressed, like, oh, that's really nice, because that's gonna enhance their writing skills. It's gonna give, like, the more you put description in your writing, the better it is. So yeah, so the third stage was self-editing, and check for the complete thoughts in your sentences. So maybe transitional words properly being used, properly done paragraphing, and that's how, like, so this is basically, writing is by through processes. It's like a slow process. It's not like you're just done and you submit your paper. That is, again, your writing will become as a product, right? We have to make a writing as a through process, like a process writing. Um, so um, So for, as a teacher, through process writing, it's easy to give formative feedback. Teachers can assess students' work through formative assessment easily, because when you're giving time to students to work in the classroom, the brainstorming, teacher get a time to visit each group of students. Maybe we can easily give them feedback about their learning. We can correct them then and there. So that's actually very good. Like, check on students' writing regularly by visiting them or having a short discussion with them. This will give students some confidence as well in the writing, because when your presence, or when you're present over there, right, students can easily approach you. They can ask you for any, for further clarification. So this way, like through process writing, you basically get more involved in both. So process writing basically involve both, like the learners and the educators. So I basically, personally, I really like the the way the process writing works through different stages. And um, this actually helps students with their learning. And with the process writing, we can do summative feedback. And summative feedback could be maybe once, the students, maybe they're done their exam or their project. So that is basically, to be honest, for me, again, doing the summative feedback on process writing, again, it means then it becomes a product. So personally, I believe that for the process writing, we should keep just formative assessment, so that so that students can develop their more confidence in the writing. And it's basically encourage like more intrinsic motivation. So they're like they're more motivated towards their writing, because they know they're not being directly judged on their work, but it's a kind of learning process. Um, um, so for every other terminologies, or every other terms, we have both pros and cons. But when I look at the strength and weaknesses, or pros and cons for the process writing, I personally really encourage this method of pedagogy. So it, there are different strengths for teachers. So it's work for process writing works best for formative assessment, like as I told discussed before as well. Like teacher can easily assess students while visiting them, looking at their work, and then correct them and give them direct feedback then and there, rather than checking their work later, as like checking their work when they submit it, and then there is no direct connection between the teachers and the students. And I personally prefer having a direct connection between teachers and the students, because you learn better when it is a kind of direct teaching, I must say, because sometimes students, like I myself as a student, I prefer having sometimes direct teaching rather than indirect, although process writing involves both indirect and direct teaching strategies, but it touches the direct teaching as well in terms of teacher visit you, gives you direct feedback. So this basically helps students developing their confidence in their writing, and maybe editing their work then and there. So teacher can support the students then and there. Yeah, that is the strength. Maybe it's always, as a teacher, it's always easy for me to tell the mistakes of the students then and there, rather than calling them later, discussing with them later, when they half of the time they're already forgotten what they have done, right? But when you pinpoint them while they're working, it helps them with their better learning. Obviously, maybe there are different ways. It's not like you just tell their mistakes in front of the whole class. Hey, this is your mistake. No, I don't want that. Maybe you can take that maybe you can call the students um, on your desk as an elementary, or maybe in university level you're moving around, and you can just check, oh, maybe you can fix this a little bit. Maybe you can just whisper in the students ears. Maybe hey, maybe you can change this. Maybe, oh yeah, this looks nice. And you can encourage them by giving them positive feedback as well, that boosts their confidence at the same time. So for the teachers, so one of the weakness of process writing is it's a little bit time consuming, but to be honest, I'm gonna say it's worth it. Although it's time consuming, but it's worth it. A strength for the pros for this type of writing for student is it is more student centered. Students are actually learning, and a student can see their own growth because they can relate. Okay, here are my mistakes. I fixed it. Oh, I got it. Okay, so I won't repeat the same mistakes. I can improve on that. So this is basically students can see their own growth in their learning. Mm, they get direct feedback from the teacher. That's the very important thing, and I personally love that getting direct feedback from your teacher so that you can improve on your learning. And students are actively involved in their learning. This increase their intrinsic motivation, as I discussed already. So it's actually worth it for the students. So some weakness or cons for process writing, although they're not like big pros, something we need to consider, but sometimes this pedagogy doesn't work well with the ELLs or English or ELL students, because who are already struggling with their writing. So as this pedagogy assumes that students have a certain level of writing and editing abilities, but I think this can be maybe this writing could help those ELs as well, because they're getting direct feedback. So I'm not gonna say that this is like a something we need to consider as a con, but this is again again I'm gonna say it's a process basically. So students are gradually learning. Uh, So another con for this process of writing is students do not get to learn grammar directly in this writing process, because this writing process is just enhancing your writing structure, your sentence structure, how you are presenting your final piece of writing. So this is not basically a time to learn your grammars and your spellings. Maybe you can obviously you can fix you can edit your spellings, because you have mistakes, because right now, like nowadays, everything is like so technology based. Like even if you're doing, there's an auto correction, so they, even the Grammarly and all those like apps are over there are present, which could help you. But for elementary, maybe this process is not directly teaching you grammar, it's teaching you your writing structure. um, so yeah, so we have covered almost everything about the process versus product writing, and hope this is clear to all of you now, the difference between the process and the process. I mean, sorry, writing as a process versus rather than writing as a product. And so I'm just gonna share a quick background for this. Sorry, I'm just sharing it at the end, but I really want to share that. So how it is started. So before late 1960s, composition classrooms were product oriented. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, there was a movement to change the product oriented models of pedagogy. As a result, process writing were popular in composition classrooms. It was the gold standard of teaching through the 1980s and into the 1990s. Um, and that's how, like, because it's a big shift in writing. And I think it's worth it, because it's actually more student centered, and that's what we need, because it's all about the students at the end. So that's our target. Like, what our students are learning, what are they achieving, what are they meeting their goals. So this is basically achievements at the end. Everything is for the students. So I personally believe that process pedagogy is really helpful, and I'm really thankful to my teacher as well, who introduced these terminologies to us, and I would definitely be applying this in my classroom. And yeah, wish me luck. Thank you so much.